Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon, how much should Fernando Mendoza's first pitch at the Marlins game yesterday dictate his draft stock for tomorrow?
It shouldn't, but well, it's not going to for the Raiders. But let's say he was a marginal first round pick, then it might come into play.
Yeah, I think that John Spytek might look at it and be like, you know what, this is not what we're trying to get, man. We're not trying to get a guy that can't get the ball right in there. And I don't know if I've talked about this with you. And by the way, I'm wearing sunglasses because there is a gigantic glare coming through my window. This time of the year at like 7:15 in the Bay Area, the sun's going down, and I like keeping my my shades open. So I'll do it with sunglasses, look like a douche for a little bit of time before the sun goes down, and then I'll get my lights on and everything. But yeah, Fernando Mendoza, tomorrow's the draft. I cannot wait. And yeah, Fernando Mendoza, if we have the clip, Alon, he threw out the first pitch of the Marlins game, and we know by now he's going to stay home with his mom. Mom not feeling great health-wise. And he's going to probably get the call at home from John Spytek and Clint Kubiak. Well, we've known for months now that he's going to be the first overall pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. And yeah, yesterday he threw out the first pitch. If we have the clip, Alon. Alon, you there? Is Alon frozen? Is it just me? That might be the case right now. All right, we'll see if Alon can join us, or maybe it's my internet and I'm just not even realizing right now. Hang on. Let me see if Alon's actually texting me. Oh, we got a new Alon. All right, we'll get rid of the old Alon, and the new Alon joins us. What's up, Alon?
I apologize. Maybe update my browser or something.
It's all good.
Quite wild. But yeah, I have that video queued up right here of Mr. Fernando Mendoza at the Marlins game.
Fantastic. Yeah, so this is Fernando Mendoza throwing out the first pitch at the game last night. We can let it roll a little bit. And yeah, throwing it out a little high into the right there, but not a bad. I don't know. You have a baseball background, Alon, that you're aware of?
I don't think so. I mean, he probably played Little League just because he's an athlete and, everybody does, but definitely does not look like a baseball player to me in terms of the way he threw that ball. Seemed like, if anything, he was thinking to himself, just don't come up short. Just get it there. Even if I overthrow it, that's fine, but don't come up short.
No, I hear you. And yeah, actually, funny enough, tonight, Andrew Luck is throwing out the first pitch at the Giants game. And we're lucky enough to have Andrew Luck on as a guest on Dirty Work, our KBR show, and he told Dave Fleming that he did play baseball, but he was not a good pitcher. And Dave Fleming was like, "You kidding me? You, Andrew Luck, with your not a rocket arm, but pretty good arm and your ability as a passer, you were not a good pitcher." And he was like, "No, I was terrible." So as a translate,
find that hard to believe too.
He's being modest because that's Andrew Luck's style, but apparently he says that he was not a good pitcher.
Okay, I mean I don't think there's a single thing involving a ball that Andrew Luck probably wouldn't be good at. Well, maybe basketball, but yeah, pitching he'd probably be great. But no, that's fascinating because he didn't have a John Elway arm, but it was pretty damn good.
No. It definitely was. Just your opinion, man. Alon to say, Derek Papa, we're coming to you on Wednesday night. We know we got a Dodgers and Giants game going on, so it might be a little empty in the chat tonight, but we'll see if people pop in. I think it's still 0-0. I cannot see without my contacts in, so this will be interesting as the sun goes down and I shift over from my shades to my glasses. But yeah, we are less than 24 hours away from the 2026 NFL draft, and I cannot wait. People are talking about a lot of movement as far as teams trading up or down. And I'm going to say I call bullshit on that because we always hear a lot of stuff's going to happen in the draft, and sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't, actually. I know last year there was a big trade to start things off. Cam Ward went first overall to Tennessee, and then there was a trade between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cleveland Browns where they took Travis Hunter. And I think we'll get trades like that, but not a ton. I think that teams want to save their picks for next year's draft class, which we keep hearing is going to be 10 times better than this one. And we said that a year ago. And now people are saying like this draft class is meh. So there's a lot of smoke going on right now as far as Arvell Reese, being taken third maybe, and then a team trading up with Arizona to take him. Other stuff that could transpire. Could the Chiefs move up? Could the Cowboys move up? Could the Saints move up? There's a lot of talk right now. And I remember a year ago, like even there was talk about maybe the Chicago Bears would leapfrog the Raiders to take Ashton Jeffy. That did not happen. I'm not taking the cheese just yet, Alon. I think there's going to be some interesting stuff that transpires tomorrow, maybe even with current players in the league getting traded. But I'm not going to say that things are going to be wild and crazy in this draft tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement. I think the wildest thing that we actually saw was the Dexter Lawrence thing, just because that is the swap of a pick for a player, and that changes the way the top 10 looks. But other than that, I don't anticipate anybody making any wild swings to get higher in the draft in this draft. I just don't see it because, like, for the reason you just said, Derek, it's just next year's draft. If you're a team that knows probably you need 2 or 3 more drafts, you probably want to save your assets for next year.
No, absolutely. And I think that, next year they're saying that this is good, that draft class when it comes to quarterbacks, Archer Manning, Lenore Sellers, Dante Moore, there's going to be more talent there. And yeah, we hear that every year that this could be a wild draft, and I'm just not buying it until I see it tomorrow. Maybe it will happen. We saw a couple teams trade back into the first round last year with the Giants, coming back in to get Jackson Dart, and then there was the Atlanta Falcons to take James Pierce. But we'll see. And then as far as players, the rumor today is that Kyle Pitts could be moved. I saw that there was a rumor going around that maybe he could be traded to the New England Patriots. He signed his franchise tender, so I don't know what the future is with that. Maybe he just doesn't want to sign a long-term deal with Atlanta. Maybe they don't want to sign a long-term deal with him. His name has been thrown out there. We know about Kenny Moore. We know about Anthony Richardson. I think we're going to see a lot of, things being shored up when it comes to the backup quarterback position for most teams. Jimmy Garoppolo is potentially going to retire. So what do the Rams do as far as a backup QB situation? I'm trying to think of other players that could be on the move tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited about this draft because it's the draft and I'm a nerd for NFL football. And Alon, you're going to the Raiders draft party in Henderson, right?
It'll actually be at the Palms, so it'll be in Las Vegas.
Then.
Yeah, so the one they'll do Friday is at the facility in Henderson, and Fernando Mendoza is going to be there to say hi to everybody. I don't know if I'm going to go to that one, but I for sure I'm going to go to the one tomorrow at the Palms because it's all inclusive, like bar service. It's free too, right? So they give it out to season ticket holders, but it's all inclusive bar service. The food's top notch, like sushi, free cigars, like all kinds of stuff. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, so we'll do a little mock draft tonight. I already did one with my brother Nick, and I'll kind of revise some things. Just my final one, where I'm not 100% in on what I did the other night with Nick as far as like this is what I actually think is going to happen. So I'll just tweak a few things. Alonzo to give his first round mock draft. But before we get to all of that, I want to talk about what's going on with the Golden State Warriors right now because it's leaning in the direction that Steve Kerr could potentially leave. And Monty Poole wrote a whole article the other day about if things don't change with his mindset and a renewed sense of the future, then he thinks that there's a 15% chance that Steve Kerr is not going to return. I should say that 15 to 20% chance that he does return, so it's low right now. We'll go into it right now. As I said, Monty Poole reported yesterday that barring a renewed faith in the future of the organization, Steve Kerr is expected to leave. And he also writes that Steve Kerr went into the season with a mindset that this would be his final season, Money will not be a factor in Kerr's decision. Anthony Slater and Rona Shelburne also wrote, I believe on Monday, it came out with an article on ESPN about Steve Kerr's future. And here's some of the main points that they came out with. Even though Steph Curry and Draymond Green want Steve Kerr back, Lacob wasn't happy about the 13 and 15 start when the team was healthy. He's not happy with the incessant turnovers, and he wasn't happy about a 37-win season when most of the league was tanking. Joe Lacob will want to hear Steve Kerr express a hunger to continue executing the nitty-gritty details of the daily job, not a reluctant acceptance purely out of loyalty to Steph Curry and Draymond Green. There is a desire for Steve Kerr to sign a multi-year extension to not just have a last dance farewell tour. There also, this is unrelated to the article, there has been rumors, and Mark Spears confirmed this the other day, that Joe Lacob has told Steve Kerr that he is not happy with him speaking out politically anymore. And I'm surprised, why would that be an issue now? But, Steve Kerr's been doing it for 12 years now. Whatever you think politically, it's, no one's been in his face saying he can't do that. And this is the first time I'm hearing of that. Also, some news. Kevin O'Connor of Yahoo Sports reports that Todd Golden, former head coach of San Francisco basketball, University of San Francisco, and then transferred to, not transferred, he's not a player, but moved on to the Florida Gators, won a national championship. He would be the top choice if Steve Kerr were to leave. There also were reports today from Tim Kawakami that Andre Iguodala and Mike Brown, who's the current head coach of the New York Knicks, would be in consideration. Andre Iguodala is a very interesting one, considering he's never coached before. He's a former player. I like Andre a lot. I remember him grabbing the clipboard in a game against the Phoenix Suns where people thought that Steve Kerr and the Warriors were being disrespectful to the Suns, the lowly Suns at the time, before they went to the finals, where Andre coached the first half of the game and then Draymond coached the second half. So, yeah, I don't know about that one. I think Andre would have a very wild post-game press conference or pre-game press conference, whatever which one, because he's, just a fun dude. But, yeah, that's the rumors of late. There's also a report out there that Steve Kerr, I guess from Front Office Sports, that he is contemplating a return to television where ESPN, NBC, and Amazon Prime are in the mix. So all of this news is coming out. And I don't want this to happen, not let alone Draymond Green going on his podcast and saying, if I had to guess right now, I think Steve is going to leave. Just the way things ended on the court that night against the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, it's trending in that direction right now, Alon. And I have my feelings about it. I know who to blame for all of this if it does come to fruition. But yeah, if I had to say right now, and this could happen in a matter of days, now weeks, it's looking like Steve Kerr could actually walk away from the Golden State Warriors.
It's looking completely opposite to what we had anticipated before the second play-in game even ended. It's just because kind of the anticipation, not just you and I talking about it, but just kind of everything that was reported was, Steve and the statements that they've made. Steve Kerr's like, I want to see this thing out with Steph. That was generally the vibe around this whole situation. But now with first of all, this whole, I need to see a renewed faith in Steve Kerr to want to do the nitty gritty of the job. I mean, I get that, but if he's just here for a year, which is what this would look, they're talking about signing him for another 3 years and having him do that. That's not going to happen. So if you're Joe Lacob and that's the problem, is that you want a commitment from Steve Kerr for another handful of years, you're not going to get that. It's just not at that point in time in his coaching career with this organization right now. The other thing is, I kind of thought, well, if you bring in more older players, a veteran team, he's not going to have to do that nitty gritty player development kind of stuff. He just needs to go out there and coach. They know what to do. They're professionals, and he needs to guide the ship. But I don't like this. I don't want to see Steve Kerr leave in this kind of fashion. I don't understand the political part at all. Like you said, Derek, he's been doing this for 12 years now, and it doesn't matter what side you're on about it. It's just like, why is that an issue now of all things? I find that one hard to believe. The last thing, who would you replace him with? whether it's like Jerry Stackhouse, Andre Iguodala, a college coach. I don't like really any of those. I mean, I like Iguodala. I actually think that'd be really interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't know if he's ready for that kind of job yet. But if that's the kind of option you want to go after, then that's the kind of guy you throw a multi-year deal at and you ride it out with him, because you shouldn't do a one and done with a player like that who's given you so much to your organization over the past decade. But I think the best option for the Warriors and Warriors fans would be to just bring Steve Kerr back for one more year, and then you figure out what you're going to replace, who you're going to replace him with after. I don't like this mentality, this kind of hardball of, well, Steve needs to be all in, not just for 1 year, but for 2 or 3 years. I don't like that at all. It's not my cup of tea, and I don't think that's a good decision for the organization, because you're not going to get it, but also that's not the point that you're at. You're just not at that point. You're at a point for a last ride, and if you do not realize that that's the reality that you're living in, then your head is buried in the sand. And that could be the case with ownership. We've talked about this before, Derek, where the ownership is very much thinking about the past, thinking that this is never going to end. Well, no, it is going to end, and it's coming to an end rather quickly here. So end it the right way.
I'm with you, Alon. And Ernie one in the chat pops up here saying, I think Kerr ends up leaving because Lacob thinks the team is better and Steve is being honest about a fading dynasty. Yes, and it is a fading dynasty. I don't think anybody should deny that. I think that maybe be a point of contention with Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr this year, where he wasn't happy that he was that honest. If I'm going to be blunt about this, I think this is not being talked about enough. This is turning into a Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones situation to me between Steve Kerr and Joe Lacob. It's clear that Steph Curry wants him. Draymond Green wants him back. I think Steve is just fed up with Joe, and that was evident the day that Bob Myers did his press conference, where, I mean, it was not like anything new to me before he was going to leave. I always thought that Bob Myers couldn't stand Joe Lacob. And then it was clear in that press conference where Bob's talking by himself for a good deal of time, and then Joe jumps on the podium, makes it about himself, and you could see Bob just laugh, and we all kind of knew why he was leaving at that point. And I thought, damn, what's going to happen to Steve Kerr in a couple of years? Because now his buffer's gone. I don't know what Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s relationship is like with Steve Kerr. I think it's probably good, but I don't think he has the same presence where Steve and Bob were tight. I'm sure that Steve and Mike Dunleavy Jr. have a good relationship, but I don't think it's to the point where Mike's like, hey, I'm going to make sure that, Joe's not up in your shit about this. Mike's new to the job. He has to prove himself. I'm sure he's going to be loyal to the owner as well. So I hate the way this is going. This seems to me like Steve Kerr is welcome to come back under Joe Lacob's rules. And that's not the way things should go down here. I think that it should be where Joe proves to Steve this job is worth taking. Because let's be honest, yes, this is a fading dynasty. And he should be allowed to come back for Steph Curry's last few years as a Golden State Warrior and Draymond Green's potential last dance. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it being not a reluctance, but just an acceptance that this is going to be over? I don't think it needs to be where Steve Kerr needs to sign a multi-year deal just because Joe wants him to, steer the ship in the right direction for when Steph Curry retires. That's not what this is about. This is where Steve Kerr's supposed to get Steph Curry that last championship and get the hell out, because I think Steve's over it. I've noticed it all season long, and I guess as Monty Poole reported, his mentality going into the year was, this is it for me. So why should it be any different when the organization is operated this way, where it's going to be quick fixes? The two timeline approach, like, whatever, okay, sure. That was them like trying to win and also get young at the same time. I get that. But you can't do that right now. This is all about winning for Steph Curry. You're not getting LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard or Giannis because of the long-term future. Like, get the fuck out of here, Joe. Like, and again, I don't want to say this stuff just because I'm mad at Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob has done amazing things for the organization, but let's be real too. Chase Center was built because of Steph Curry, and they won 4 championships because of Steve Kerr. I think that Joe should realize what type of coach he has. And I think that he's done things to piss off him and others in the organization because of his ego, because he thinks that he knows all when it comes to basketball. He, I'm sure, is still angry at Steve for Kuminga's lack of development and having to trade him away. I'm sure he's mad at Steve for James Wiseman too. But you can't have the expectations that Joe Lacob has as an owner to be like, well, I want to make this team younger. At the same time, I want to win right now. I don't care about the rules. That's what Joe Lacob's always said. And I'm not saying he's a ruthless, meddling owner, but he acts like it sometimes. Where if Steve Kerr leaves, I'm blaming him 100%. Again, he's done incredible things for this organization, and they would not be where they are today without him. But if Steve Kerr leaves, it is Joe Lacob's fault because Steve Kerr can't stand working with the guy.
Yeah, I don't think you can look. At the end of the day, he's the owner. He makes the decisions. We know how he acts. We know the good things that he's done for this organization as an owner. His ability to empower people to do things. Yes, has he been demanding? Of course he has. I like the Mike Dunleavy point, Derek, because I don't know if he offers that same buffer, like you said, that Bob Myers did. I don't think that shield exists for Steve Kerr, and I think we've seen it over the past couple of years. And that's just because, and it's not because Mike Dunleavy can't do the job or he doesn't have that in him to do it. It's just Steve Kerr and Mike Dunleavy didn't go to war together. Steve Kerr and Bob Myers built something. I mean, yeah, did they take a team that was decent? Sure, but they really built something and grinded it out to get it to this elite level that not only had we never seen in the Bay Area, but it's one of the greatest dynasties in basketball history. So they went to war together and did that. So there was kind of that operation going. Regarding Joe Lacob, I've never understood this. And I've talked about it before. I've never understood the fans who have said, well, maybe it's time to move on from Steve, or Steve Kerr's really screwing things over. I don't get it. There's this, I'm going to use a term here, treasury of merit, right? There's a cache of merit. Klay Thompson has paid into it. Stephen Curry has paid into it. Draymond Green has paid into it. Andre Iguodala did. All these players who helped build this thing did. And Joe Lacob seems to remember all the merit of the players, but he doesn't seem to remember all the deposits that Steve Kerr has made into that treasury along the way. Why doesn't Steve Kerr get to come back for his personal goals? It's not that he's going to say, screw the job and I'm not going to work hard. Of course he is. He's a professional. He worked hard this season, but it's okay if his motivation is a one and done rather than a 3 or 4 year outlook to, be the bridge guy. Also disrespectful to Steve Kerr. If he doesn't want to do that and he wants to go out with his guys one more time, you let him do that. This is the man who's guided you to 4 championships and has made this team. I would say he got them a bonus in 2022. And if you bring in another superstar player like LeBron or Giannis or Kawhi or guys like that, he could possibly get you another bonus. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but he will give you a great season. He's not just going to step out and the season's going to collapse and be bullcrap. It's not going to. They will at the very least make the play-in. And I assume with another superstar, they'll be like the 6th seed. But I don't know why Joe Lacob and that ownership group can't give Steve Kerr the same pass they can to the players. And maybe pass is not the right word, but why they do not value what Steve Kerr has done the same way they value what the players have done.
Because they're on different philosophical, ideologies right now, where Steve Kerr is trying to just, he's been a part of fading dynasties. He knows it better than anybody. He was with the Chicago Bulls, and that last year in 1998, it's kind of a similar situation where, what's his name? Jerry Krause, the GM, he blew the thing up when he didn't have to. He was mad he was mad that Phil Jackson and multiple players undermined him. Didn't think that he was, as worthy as he thought of himself. They didn't respect him, I should say. And that was it. Only Michael Jordan was going to remain, and he retired. Phil Jackson, after winning a championship, a three-peat, was not brought back. Everybody left. Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr went to the San Antonio Spurs. That's kind of what's happening here. It's a similar situation where Joe's expecting the same results, but with a different head coach. I think, honestly, Joe Lacob wants Steve Kerr to say, I'm done. I think he's tired of him. I think he's tired of his act. I think there's a new era in the NBA where you don't have hard asses, disciplinarians, where Steve Kerr is a nice guy to the cameras, but he's old school, man. He was coached by Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson. He got punched in the face by Michael Jordan. He will chew you out if you're not, doing what he expects you to do. And I like that about him. That's why Michael Malone got fired last year, because he was too much of a hard ass. And if there's one guy that I would want to replace Steve Kerr, I want it to be him, because I think Steph Curry and Draymond Green can handle his coaching, because he's a championship coach. Now he has to go to college because, let's be honest, the NBA is soft now. So I think that he doesn't like that. I think that he didn't like the way that Kuminga was handled. And I think that Steve Kerr is probably angry with Joe about that too, where he says publicly, well, I think he's the next best superstar. And he brings him courtside to Valkyrie's games. I think that there's a lot of things that Joe Lacob has done to undermine Steve Kerr as head coach. And the biggest thing to me is that email that he had to respond to a fan, and it had to be posted on social media, where he basically blamed Steve Kerr for the way the team was going. So don't tell me that you're trading for Jimmy Butler and you're trying to go get Kristaps Porzingis and all these other moves that could happen this offseason, because you're thinking about the long-term future of the organization. Joe Lacob is just as guilty as Steve Kerr being short-sighted when it comes to the here and now, wanting to win right now for Steph Curry's champion for his last remaining years in the NBA. So, I do believe that Joe Lacob is going to do what Steph Curry wants him to do at the end of the day, but I think that it's going to be by his rules. It's going to be where I want you to play the game the way I want you to, which is ridiculous, because Joe Lacob doesn't know as much basketball as Steve Kerr does, for God's sakes. It's insane to me. So I think that Joe Lacob is just wanting to hire Steve Kerr back to make Steph Curry happy and Draymond Green. That's it. If we're up to him and there were no aging superstars on his team, he would just start all over again and have Todd Golden as his head coach. I think that he's going to say all the right things to Steve, while also saying these are my stipulations. But also I think that in the back of his mind, he's like, please just say I'm going to go. And then I don't look like the bad guy. But either way, to me, there's no way that Joe Lacob doesn't look like the bad guy in this situation. He will be in my book, because I think Steve wants to come back. He wants to be there for Steph Curry. But this guy's becoming too much of a pain in the ass, to be honest.
I don't understand, and that's the problem. That's my cognitive dissonance here, Derek, is I don't understand from Joe Lacob's perspective how a guy like Steve Kerr has been a pain in his ass. I just don't. Is it because he's too big of a person? He's too big in terms of what he's accomplished and how he coaches his team. If it's about the Kuminga thing, I would tell Warriors ownership, I would say, you think Jonathan Kuminga some like game-changing wing? He's not. He's a nice player. Don't get me wrong. But I don't even know if he's going to be as good as Andrew Wiggins is over the course of his career. So, like, I don't want to hear that, oh, he's the next greatest superstar. To me, that is such, it's like getting high on your own supply, basically. It's like you think you're such a master at everything in your organization. It's that whole light years attitude, all this kind of stuff. And so you think nothing that you do can go wrong, and that you also think everything that you're going to do is going to turn out the best possible way. Well, you have a sure thing right here with these guys who are still on your team and a Hall of Fame coach. So I can't get over it. I won't get over it. I will blame Joe Lacob. I will blame the Warriors ownership and everybody involved in that kind of decision if that's what happens, because I don't know I don't know who Joe Lacob will hire that will be better than Steve Kerr. In fact, I will say anybody he hires will not be better than Steve Kerr, not just for next year, but for the next 10 years, for the next 20 years. It's true.
No, it is. And I'll be blunt. If Steve Kerr does not return, I've had this idea for a long time that they're not winning a championship. That would solidify it for me. If Steve Kerr leaves, they're not getting a fifth championship. I'm sorry.
Course. Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be where Todd Golden comes in and I think they'll respect him, but like, come on. Like, you're going to have a college coach learn how to be a NBA coach in Steph Curry's last remaining years. Sorry.
With no pre-existing relationship either. That's the other thing. Like, he doesn't know these guys.
Exactly. And you're going to, like, if you're trying to make that appealing to LeBron James. That's the thing, too. This could hurt the long-term future, I should say, like the next few years of Steph Curry, because he wants to sign a contract extension. He said, I want multiple years with the Golden State Warriors. But if Steve Kerr's not there, is he going to do that? There's no franchise tag. Steph can leave, and that would be a big deal. But he also wants his coach to be happy, so maybe he understands at this point. What about Draymond Green? Does he want to be coached by anybody else at this point? Probably not. So there's so many ramifications for this. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I want there to be a nice ending to this thing. And there rarely is in sports, especially with dynasties, in the amount of egos that are involved here with Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr as well. But I also think that Steve deserves to have a nice farewell tour. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why that bothers Joe Lacob so much. I really don't know why it bothers him that he's talking about this is a fading dynasty. It is. 100% it is. This thing is dying, and that's okay. Things come to an end, but then you have to think about what are you going to do after that? And I don't think Joe, even though he's blaming Steve Kerr for not wanting to be part of the long-term success, neither does he. Like he hasn't done anything to make them better for, the 10 years from now. If anything, I understand that it's tough saying goodbye to the people we loved, but they should have moved on from Draymond Green. They should have moved on from Klay Thompson earlier. And there's a part of me also that I'm glad they didn't do that because I like the nostalgia of it all. But if you really are serious about competing against OKC, then you should have done that 2 years ago, probably right after they won the championship and they lost to the Lakers in the second round. That's where you should have changed things up. And maybe they're just too loyal to the players that they had, or they're too wrapped up in the past. I think that was their downfall. And drafting the wrong guys, honestly. James Wiseman was the right call back then, but he wasn't the right guy. Jonathan Kuminga was the right call at the time, but he wasn't the right guy in the end. So you could blame a lot of people. You could blame Joe Lacob. You could blame Bob Myers. You can blame Steve Kerr. But it's a situation they're in right now, and I think they're going to be in a worse situation if Steve Kerr's not the head coach. What are their options? Todd Golden, I'm not a fan of just because I don't like a college coach coming over. He could be a great NBA coach, but maybe for a team that's developing, not for one that's trying to win right now. Andre Iguodala, love him, but I don't think that he's ready to be a coach of a championship team. I'd be down for Mike Brown, but he's coaching the Knicks right now. I think that it's a different deal where I don't have a lot of faith in Mike Brown with the Knicks. I would actually think that he would be pretty good with the Warriors because he understands this team. He understands what to do when Draymond Green acts up. And they all respect him and love him. And Mike Brown had success when Steve Kerr was out with the back issue during the postseason. Luke Walton's another name, but we know what Luke Walton was as a head coach. I think he's with the Detroit Pistons right now. I think his time as a NBA coach has come and gone, where he didn't have success with the Lakers or the Sacramento Kings. Sam Cassell's another name out there. But yeah, I just don't. The bottom line is there's nobody that's better than Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is the answer if you're trying to win another championship. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about here, where we have to even entertain somebody else at the like. If you're trying to get a championship for Steph Curry and you want to lure LeBron, Kawhi, or Giannis, then what are we talking about here? This guy has coached in the Olympics. He knows everybody when it comes to big stars in the NBA. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, this is like, the closest thing I can think of is this is like having Phil Jackson basically who wants to come back, and then you're like, no. Or same thing with Popovich or guys like that. That's the kind of level we're talking about with Steve Kerr. And he wants to come. I think he wants to come back, and the players definitely want him back. So if you're so dead set on rebuilding this team, then rebuild the team. But we know you're not going to do that. You're not doing that this year. You're not doing it next year. So then what are you doing? Just bring Steve back. It's very easy. Swallow your ego, swallow your pride. If you're Joe Lacob and whoever else is advising him on that, and you just deal with it. If you're not going to do that, then rebuild the freaking team. Don't do this. Don't do what you're about to do. Because if regardless of who else you bring in, if you don't have Steve Kerr, I don't think you're attracting any of those three guys that we've mentioned before. Whether it's Giannis, whether it's Kawhi, whether it's LeBron, you're not. Maybe
they would be attracted just because Steph Curry's there, but yes, I hear you. Like it's It's one con to the whole thing of joining the Warriors. There's a lot of cons joining the Warriors at this point, but the fact that Steve Kerr's not there and you're going to have a inexperienced head coach, that would not be appealing, I think, to most superstars. But then again, how many chances do you get to play with Steph Curry and like at the end of his career like that? And we'll see. Like Terry Stotts could be another name. I like Terry. He's the assistant coach right now with the Warriors, but he didn't have a lot of success with Portland back in the day. Anybody that has this version of the Warriors, it's going to be tough to compete in the West. So why not just have Steve? And then if it doesn't go well this season, then this is where you say goodbye. This is where, yes, Steph is under contract for a few more years, but that's when you say goodbye to Draymond. That's when you know that Steve Kerr is not up for the job when you have to do a massive rebuild. And maybe Steph's not up for that either, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is as far as the next head coach. All I know is I want Steve Kerr to remain the coach, and it just feels like it's not going that direction right now. Otis Bird joins us in the chat right now, and he says, agreed, there really aren't any better options right now at head coach. Yeah, Kerr may frustrate us from time to time, but the guy is a winner. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Otis. I never have been frustrated by Steve Kerr. I trust in him. I loved it back, almost longer than 10 years ago when that first championship, he knew the right things to do. He knew to sit Andrew Bogut and have Andre Iguodala be a starter, to have that lineup to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's why he was such an upgrade over Mark Jackson, because Mark Jackson didn't know what the hell he was doing. Yes, the defense played better and they got to the playoffs, but Steve Kerr has been around championship coaches. So I understand he's done some questionable things as far as development and maybe some lineup stuff, but the bottom line is, when it's all said and done, Steve Kerr, Jerry West has gone to the Hall of Fame for multiple things, being a player and a GM and an Olympian or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr, he's not going to the Hall of Fame as a player. He should go in as a head coach for what he's accomplished in this league, having the 4 championships and the Olympics, getting the gold medal. I think that Steve, when it's all said and done, he'll be in the conversation for, one of the best head coaches of all time. Same with Popovich and Phil Jackson, his mentors. And when we talk about best Bay Area coaches of all time, yes, Steve Kerr is not only on the list, he might be number 1 in my book.
Yeah. Now he is probably, and we talked about that last time, Derek. He probably is number 1. I have to put him above any of the Oakland coaches. I have to put him above Bill Walsh, and yeah, it's Steve Kerr. And yeah, I mean, reading what Otis said about some of the frustrations, I get it. I'm with you though. I've never really felt frustration with what Steve Kerr does. I've always felt that he's willing to try to take a risk, but a calculated risk in trying to find his team an edge for how they can win. He's trying to maximize what they can do while getting over on the other team. And that is something that Mark Jackson never did. He just let him go out and play and relied on the talent of their backcourt and their, tough grit defense when he was there. But that's something a lot of coaches don't do. They have plan A, maybe they have plan B, but they ain't willing to do something like, hey, I'm going to take my all-world, rim defending center out of the game and go small. What coach is going to do that? Don Nelson might do that, but that's just because that's Don Nelson. But Steve Kerr is a guy who wins championships and he does it. So yeah, there's not better options out there. I wish everybody could just get over it. Everybody, meaning Joe Lacob, and just bring him back for 1 more year, because we already know you're not going to go through this rebuild like you should have maybe 2 years ago. So you're stuck with where you're at now, and the options out there for you. Mike Brown, great, but he's already coaching. Jerry Stackhouse, okay, whatever. Stotts, maybe, whatever. But no. Just keep Steve. It makes it easier. And what really changes? This is my last question on this, Derek.
Yeah.
What changes in the grand plan of everything if you keep Steve for 1 more year? What does that do to your that doesn't do, if anything, I would figure it kind of makes your rebuild easier, because maybe there's a chance you go out on top before going into the rebuild.
Yeah. I think that if Joe Lacob really wanted Steve Kerr back as head coach, he would just say, I'll get out of your way. But he's not going to do that. Guys in his position, owners of that power, guys with money, they just don't stay out of the way. It's their business. And I get it too. I understand that Joe Lacob is running a business here and he's thinking about the long-term future of this organization. But if it is all about winning, why not just run it back with Steve and just let him do his thing? That's what I'm hoping. And I will be sad. I will be emotional if we get that notification from Shams Charania that Steve Kerr is walking away. It will definitely affect me because I look at Steve Kerr in the same way that when I loved John Gruden as a kid. The first time around with the Raiders, he was my guy. Steve Kerr is the same thing to me, where he came to my team and made them championship, just champions, honestly. Like, turn them around instantly, and everything he does, I'm in favor of. Whether it's stuff on the basketball court or what he says, I'm with him. So, yeah, it would just piss me off, and I would be upset with Joe Lacob. Things come to an end, but I don't want it to be like this. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. I'm hoping that Steve Kerr has a change of heart. It's trending in the direction that he's going to leave. But if he wants to enjoy his life now, maybe go into TV, maybe join Tom Tolbert a little bit more in the backyard for his podcast, I'm all down for that. And Otis is talking here in the chat here about Steve Kerr. Not going to lie, I almost got a little teary-eyed when Kerr hugged Steph and Draymond at the end of that Phoenix game. It was one of those, dang. It's one of those, yeah, dang, this could be it sort of things, as Otis says in the chat here. Yeah, I was the same way, man, because I was not anticipating like that moment right then and there, but it happened. You're like, Steve went out of his way to tell both of those guys, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I think he has it in his mind that I'm probably going to walk away. So I hope it doesn't happen. But if I had to say today what I think is going to happen, it probably is where Steve leaves. Which would
Draymond,
suck.
player coach.
Lacob wants that.
I know. I would take it to be interesting.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. God, he would get fined all the time. Like he would be ejected from every single game. Draymond cannot control himself. It would be very interesting.
How would that work with the technicals? So player coach, he still only just has 2, right? So he doesn't get double the amount of technicals. He doesn't get coaches technicals and player technicals.
Oh, you want him to play as well? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I want him Jackie Moon. He's not gonna be the owner, but he'll be the player and the coach.
Then you got to drop podcasting because there's just too much time in the day where you have to play and coach and hop on the mic too. I don't see that one happening though. All right. So we have the draft tomorrow, and we went through all of the latest rumblings about there may be some movement. Just real quick, the Dallas Cowboys. Today, Stephen Jones came out and said that George Pickens will not get a long-term contract. He's going to play this year on the franchise tag. And I'm like, so why'd you trade for this guy then? Like, you knew that he was going to have a contract in a couple of years. Why trade for him? And maybe it's because George Pickens is expecting to be the highest paid receiver in football. That may be a little too much, but that's the market too. And he's a damn good receiver. So, do you want two players on your team? I mean, you're already paying Dak $60 million. I think CeeDee Lamb makes 34, and then or 33, whatever it may be, and then you want to pay George Pickens on top of that 42. Like, yeah, that's a lot. That's where things are getting costly. But that's just bad planning on the Cowboys' part. Where like, if you're going to trade for a player that has an expiring contract, then you need to bring the contract with you when you make that deal. And this is just the epitome of the Cowboys. Where today they're doing their pre-draft conference. And they're asking, they're answering questions about the future and everything. And then Bill Clinton shows up randomly in the room. And Jerry Jones is like, I got to stop what I'm talking about. I got to talk to my man, Bill. Jerry, I love you, man. Like it was just, are you in the Epstein files too? I just thought like they care more about that than their football team. I've always heard that with Jerry Jones, the spectacle of it, being a soap opera. Like, dude, answer questions about the team. And just Bill Clinton just like, oh, I don't know where I'm going. I thought I was going to the cafeteria. Like it's just ridiculous that he pops up and then that whole thing gets sidetracked. So that's the Dallas Cowboys franchise in a nutshell to me.
It's the Arkansas connection. That's why.
That is true. Yes,
both Arkansas guys, and they both have the same color hair now. We're very, very white, and they're both extremely old. Yeah, no, I don't understand how they run that organization. Regarding the George Pickens thing, before we get into like the mock, is yeah, you traded for a guy. You knew he was on an expiring contract. You knew he's going to be expensive because he's a damn good player.
Yep.
Maybe you don't want to make him the most expensive wide receiver or highest paid wide receiver in the league. Just bite the bullet, do it, and then guess what? In a year, he won't be that guy anymore. You just won't. I don't mean not be the guy on the field. I mean he won't be the highest paid wide receiver anymore because the market's completely resetting every year, every other year. So just sign. It's like when the Raiders signed Max Crosby to that big thing and made him the highest paid guy, and then he wasn't pretty quickly. I mean, it's just the way the market goes. I don't understand what they're doing. Also, why get rid of a guy like Micah, who you could have made the highest paid defensive end in the league eventually, if you're not even going to go out and use those so-called resources that you've now been able to save for stuff like this? I don't understand.
Yeah, and right now, George Pickens might be as expensive as what Micah Parsons would have been under the Dallas Cowboys, contract discussion. So it's all ass backwards with them. Real quick in the chat, we got Tacky joining us too. So who's all coming to the draft party tomorrow? The KNBR 49ers draft show. I think Ernie's coming. I want to say Tacky's coming. Otis Birdie can't make it, man. That's unfortunate. But we'll set something up where everybody can come out for a little JYOM meetup pretty soon here, maybe right before football season. But hope to meet up with Otis Bird eventually here. I think I saw Otis last year at the Warriors Roundtable. Yeah, that was it. But yeah, we'll figure things out. Tacky says, I'm going to be there to moderate the Derek and Rocket fight. Yeah, there's a whole thing going on. So we'll discuss that. Yeah, no. Rocket wants more acknowledgement of the chat, and I totally understand that. I haven't been very good about it. I noticed it last show. So we'll do that, but also we're going to talk football on the show too. When there's football to be discussed, it's not going to happen all the time. Once the draft, goes away, then we got some downtime. We'll have more fun on here and talk about a wide-ranging topics. But yeah, it'll be fine. Rockin' usually comes around.
Where is the KNBR Niner draft? Where's the HQ? Where's that happening, Derek?
Well, the headquarters are going to be at Levi's, and that's where Larry Krueger and John Dickinson and Todd Husak will be tomorrow. Myself, Adam Copeland, and Marcus Boucher are going to be at Jack's Restaurant and Bar in San Jose, and we'll be there for live look-ins and our quick reactions to what goes on in the draft, and we'll be eating and drinking and having a good time.
San Jose?
In San Jose, yep.
Oh, okay. Well, close to Levi's, right?
Yeah, close to Levi's. It's a long trip over there. But yeah, we have fun at Jack's. It's a lot of fun. We've been to multiple locations, whether it's in San Jose or Pleasant Hill. We've had fun at Jack's. They have a good steak sandwich.
I'm looking at it right now. It looks pretty good.
You're looking at the menu. All right.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Just pull back the curtain. So something me and Derek's old board operator from way back in the day, Ben, we used to look at food menus and pictures of food in the studio for anybody.
Oh, Ben Shaw?
Yeah, you remember that? Ben and I, when I was an intern, we'd be like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. We'd look at pictures of food for about 3 hours. And so that's how you kill the time in radio, guys.
All right. Well, good to know. You guys have a connection there.
You were in there too, Derek. You were just working.
Yeah, I was probably busy doing stuff, and you guys were just looking at pictures of food. All right. Alon, I want to hear what you got for your mock draft, and we'll do it in a quick amount of time. I know that me and my brother just rambled on and on and on. And so, yeah, we will be doing that right now. I just want to make some quick tweaks to my mock draft. So Daniel Jeremiah actually came out with his mock draft a couple of hours ago, and I always look at his because he nailed it a few years ago when he had the Texans taking C.J. Stroud second and then trading back in third overall to get Will Anderson Jr. Now he is saying what I predicted last time with Nick, that David Bailey – actually, I had David Bailey going third, but I had the Jets taking Arvell Reese and the Saints trading up with the Arizona Cardinals to go third overall to take David Bailey. He thinks that it's going to be the way around where David Bailey goes second and Arvell Reese goes third with the Saints. He also has the 49ers taking Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington. Again, really good contested ball receiver. Not a lot of speed there. Not a lot of twitchiness. Not like quick movements or anything. He's a solid receiver, but not a guy that's going to blow you away with his explosiveness. So I don't know if Kyle Shanahan would love a guy like that. But then again, he liked Teteroa McMillan, who definitely had more speed. But he was infatuated with him a year ago, and he just left in the draft before he could get him. So he went with Michael Williams, who wasn't a bad draft pick himself. So as far as what I'm changing from last time with the NFL draft or my mock draft, I do think David Bailey's going second to the Jets. I think that there's too much smoke there right now. It seems like everybody that does a mock is saying that. And it could be where Aaron Glenn isn't trusting of Arvell Reese and maybe a make or break season for him with his job on the line, that he wants results right away with David Bailey. David Bailey is a guy that you could plug and play and could go get 12 sacks for you. He doesn't just have the freakish nature of an Arvell Reese, the versatility. But yeah, I think that David Bailey probably goes second. And yeah, I do still see the Saints trading up with the Arizona Cardinals, but they're going to take Arvell Reese there at third. And then as I move along here, just as far as changes from the first time around, I think the Bucs, even though I think they are desperate for pass rush, they did make some moves this offseason. I forget who the pass rushers were. I'll pull it up in a second. But they have no corners right now on the roster. Jamel Dean left. I think he went to go to the Steelers. So I'm going to change that up. And I said Gerard McCoy last time. That's not his name. Jermod McCoy, the quarterback from Tennessee, he goes 15th overall to the Buccaneers in my mock. Then I got the Vikings taking Dylan Thieneman at 18. Akeem Mesidor should be your guy for the Dallas Cowboys at 20 because they need pass rush. And then as far as anything else, the Bears take Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson. The Bills take Zion Young. I still got the 49ers taking Caleb Lomu, where he could play left guard that first year as a rookie and then slide in to replace Trent Williams in time. I think the Texans can address their guard needs in the second round. I think they have two picks in that second round. So they don't need to draft Chase Pasanis in that second round. They'll go get Keenan McDonald, the defensive tackle from Ohio State. And then, yeah, I'm with my brother Nick, where I do think the Arizona Cardinals trade back into the first round with the Miami Dolphins. They still take Casey Concepcion, but that's a second-round move. The Arizona Cardinals trade in at 30th and take Ty Simpson. Even though I bet Pat H that Ty Simpson wouldn't be a first-round draft pick, there's a lot of attention right now with Ty Simpson, the Arizona Cardinals. So, yeah, I think that's going to happen there. Patriots take T.J. Parker, the defensive end from Clemson. Yeah, and I'm ending things with Seahawks taking Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. So, Alon, if you can, in a quick amount of time, can we go through your first-round mock draft?
Yeah, we have some similarities for sure. I actually have Ty Simpson going off the board well before that second because you had where did you have him going off the board? To the Cardinals with the what?
At
trading
30th.
back at 30th? Yeah. So I did my mock without switching anybody around. I didn't take any team trades. No, I just did it according to the order right now. So Fernando Mendoza, big surprise. He's going to be number one. I put Arvell Reese for the Jets number 2. I know the conversation with David Bailey. I understand plug and play. He can get it done right now. Arvell Reese has made those statements about still needs to learn how to be a pass rusher, things like that. I just think Arvell Reese is the more enticing player, so I think they'll take him. At 3, I have the Cardinals actually going offensive line, which probably is a surprise, but I have them taking Francis Mauigoa from Miami because they're going to need offensive line eventually, and he's one of the better players in the draft. Number 4, this is
and
really
by the way,
good.
I'll just say that's not – sorry to cut you off. That's not a surprise to me because that's the way it was for a long time there. Daniel Jeremiah originally said Francis Mauigoa would be for the Cardinals. I do think the Cardinals do want an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know that that's not insanity.
No, it's not crazy. Yeah.
For the Titans, I think they are in the catbird seat for sure. They're in the driver's spot. Jeremiah Love falls to them, and they take him. And I think that's probably who New York wants, and so New York doesn't get to get him. So Jeremiah Love goes there. He gets to help their young quarterback instantly by being a receiver and a running back. Going to the Giants, I have Carnell Tate because they need a wide receiver to help their quarterback, and they probably wanted a running back, and maybe they're not going to be able to get one if Jeremiah Love goes 4. David Bailey then falls to 6, and he goes to Cleveland.
Wow.
So I think that they try to have an electric pass rush there in Cleveland between him and Miles, which I would love to watch that happen.
So they don't get any offensive players. They have another, first round pick later on. I think at 24.
Yes.
Wow. So
and yeah.
So you don't have them taking a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. That's the first I've heard of that. Wow. That's that. All right. Okay.
I have them taking David Bailey, and I know they should take offensive linemen there, but I just think David Bailey, it's too enticing to have two amazing pass rushers after you've invested all that money there. Caleb Downs goes to Washington, which I think is perfect for them, for the Commanders.
I have that as well.
Okay, yeah, I think that's easy. I then have Reuben Bain going to New Orleans, and I think New Orleans feels a little bad about it, but that's the guy that they're stuck with, and hopefully it works out for all parties involved.
What do you mean bad about it?
I think they feel like they need pass rush, and it kind of sucks for them that David Bailey's he's already going to be gone. Arvell Reese is already gone as well, so they're kind of stuck with. It's kind of rough sometimes when you take maybe the third or fourth best guy at a position group, because then the risk starts to amplify. So I'm not saying that they feel bad about the pick, like they like the player, but it just kind of amplifies the risk a little bit. You're not taking one of those top two guys.
All right, so you got the Chiefs taking a 9, Alon.
Monsieur Delane. I know I went back and forth. I thought Jordan Tyson would be a really good pick for them there because wide receiver help is nice, but I think corner is really important for them. So I think they get Monsieur Delane, the LSU cornerback.
All righty, and then at 10, who do you got the Giants taking?
Sonny Styles. They get a defensive player there.
Wow, Sonny Styles falls a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, he does fall. I also flirted with him going to New Orleans because eventually they have to figure out the long-term plan there. Demario Davis has been manning that spot forever. Miami reaches big time here, and they get Mekhi Lemon because they need a wide receiver.
Ooh.
So they pick Mekhi Lemon over Jordan Tyson, in my opinion.
Wow, so Jordan Tyson's going to fall a little bit here too. Okay, so who you got at 12, and who's picking 12? It's the
Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, Jermon McCoy goes to the Dallas Cowboys. They need a cornerback, and then Jordan Tyson gets picked by LA.
Oh, God, the Rams take Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, so I have the Rams taking Jordan Tyson.
Holy shit, they get him along with Puka Nacua and Devontae?
Yeah, so I figured they want to add to his strength. That was my thinking there.
Okay.
And then Baltimore, I had a tough time figuring out who they would get with this pick. I plugged in Spencer Fano. I feel like that's a very Baltimore Ravens pick, a guy who could play guard early or tackle if you want him to, and it's just a good, solid Baltimore Ravens pick.
Okay, and then at 15?
Keldrick Falk. I have
the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers taking Keldrick. I think he's a good fit. Then at 16 for the Jets, I think they take Vega, the guard from Penn State, who fits nicely for them and helps them in what they're trying to do, which is really nice for Detroit because Monroe Freeling then falls to them.
I have him as well going to 17.
Okay. And then I have the same 18 pick that you do, Derek. I have Dylan Thieneman. I think that's a really good plug and play safety there for Minnesota.
Real quick along, going back to Monroe Freeling. Do you think because Monroe has played so much left tackle at Georgia, and I shouldn't say so much, he was only one season, but the fact that he was a left tackle, you think that they would change things up? Because I know that Dan Campbell came out and said, we want Penei Sewell to move to left tackle, just keep him a right tackle, and then have Monroe Freeling take the left tackle position.
That was one of the things I was thinking about. I think it gives them the versatility to not have to switch things up. Not that Penei couldn't do it, but if he's already dominant at right tackle, like on the right side, like we know he is, then just putting a guy who is a left tackle, who has been, you just do that and you don't have to make those changes.
No, okay, 19.
But you could make those changes either way with Monroe.
Yeah,
19. Caleb Lomu, the tackle from Utah. Okay. I think pass protection is still very important to them. And then another pass protector here for Dallas. I bet you they will do this. Caden Proctor.
Wow. Don't they have a pretty good offense? I mean, like last night, or a couple of nights ago, my brother thought I traded with the Cleveland Browns and Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys went to 24, the Browns came up to 20. And he was like, why would Caden Proctor fit on that offensive line? I'm like, no, I'm talking about the Browns. You actually think the Cowboys are going to take Caden Proctor? I
think they will. I think they value his versatility, and I think that they would likely put him at right tackle immediately.
Okay. Who's their right tackle right now?
Their right tackle right now, it's not Terrence Steele, is that correct? Yeah, I think that's who it is.
And then they got Guyton as their left tackle. So it's guys they've drafted. You think they're ready to move on from somebody already?
I think at the right side they are, and they seem to be pretty obsessed with power tackles just because of the way the Dallas Cowboys kind of run their organization. So I think they will pick Caden. That may be a reach, but Ty Simpson then I have going to the Steelers.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that's picking up some steam right now, and that's not to say like they have no idea about Aaron Rodgers. I saw the report the other day. I'm not going to bring this up all the time because God knows Rockin' hates that. I think that Aaron Rodgers, the whole report that the Steelers have no idea what's going on with him still. They're not expected to get any news by tomorrow. They know. I'm tired of playing this game. Like they know. No NFL team operates this way. But like we have no idea what's going on with our quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has probably told them I'm coming back. I just don't want it announced. I don't want it where my agent tells Rappaport or Schefter. So that's the way things are right now. We'll know when it's the first mandatory minicamp that Aaron Rodgers is coming back.
I even think with Aaron Rodgers coming back, because I'm assuming he will, but I even think if he does come back, I still think they draft Ty Simpson. So even if they already have assurances that he's coming back, I think they have to. They need a succession plan. Kenny Pickett didn't work out. They tried to plug the hole the way they have, and they got to find a guy. So it's not a bad value pick. It's not horrible.
All right, who you got at 22?
Peter Woods. I think Peter Woods goes to the Chargers. I think very John Harbaugh pick. It's the trenches, baby, and that's what he wants to build up. So then that leaves me to the Eagles, who need wide receiver now, and I think they go get Omar Cooper Jr.
Ooh. Okay, I liked it a lot, actually. I'm surprised. Yeah, Omar Cooper Jr. fell here. All right, who you got at 24, Alon?
Casey Concepcion.
For the Browns.
He's going to end up going to the Browns and be a sure target for Shedeur. So they are able to get some offensive help. Maybe it's not the sexy offensive help that they could have had at the very top, like a Jordan Tyson guy like that, but I think they get their receiver there who could be good in the slot for them.
Ernie in the chat here real quick says, inside scoop, Rodgers was in Chico the other day with his parents. He hates his parents, Ernie.
Yeah. He doesn't like his parents.
Divulge your sources, all right? I want to know some information here. All right. Who you got at 25, Alon?
Christian Miller. So the defensive tackle from Georgia, I have going to the Bears. So I same pick as you, just a different player. Still a defensive tackle.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, 26.
Another defensive tackle. It's McDonald. Caden McDonald from Ohio State goes to Buffalo. I think that helps them.
Yeah, I thought about that early on where the Bills are switching to a 3-4 defense. They do need a nose tackle.
Yeah.
But they also need pass rush. So I could see either happening there. All right. Who you got, Alon, at 27? It's the 49ers. Who you got the Niners taking?
The big Niners pick. It's maybe not the sexiest thing, but I think it's necessary. I still think they go offensive line depth. I think they get Blake Miller.
Ooh. Can Blake Miller play guard, you think?
That's the whole reason in my head that they draft him. It's contingent on them thinking that he can play guard. So if I had to do it again, they go with a different position, but I think he could at least play guard for a year or two.
And Ernie one says, truth, my coworkers saw them at a coffee shop. He mentioned it in a work meeting. Well, can't argue with that. All righty. Who you got at 28, Alon?
This one was tough for the Texans, but I actually give them a tight end. They get Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon, who I think is a pretty good tight end. Yeah,
that would be a great move for them. All right. And then at 29?
The Kansas City Chiefs get to keep someone local, and they get Zion Young, the edge rusher from Missouri. So they get a little edge rush help.
Alrighty. And then the Miami Dolphins at 30?
I gave him a corner, Colton Hood from Tennessee, who's a pretty good corner. I don't know. They could literally, Derek, Miami could pick anybody at any position, and it'll make them better.
Yeah, they did. They desperately need it. All right. And then Patriots at 31?
I gave the Patriots a wide receiver, believe it or not. I gave them Denzel Boston. That's who I think if he's there, that would make sense. Wide receiving help seems to be something that they should get.
Definitely. Does the recent A.J. Brown news, and it's not really news, we've known this for quite some time, but Adam Schefter is saying that it's most likely going to happen post-June 1st. Do you think that would prevent them from getting a wide receiver? Obviously not.
No, I don't, because I think they still need something, and he would at the worst be a guy who could just score touchdowns for you in the end zone, so you don't have to slam everything in And at the best, you could have an incredible wide receiver duo between him and AJ.
Alrighty, and then at 32, Seahawks, last one.
Avion Terrell. I think a cornerback is really good value for them there. And Terrell's been a good corner at Clemson, and that's just a team with not a lot of holes on it. So I think picking a good cornerback could actually help them.
Alrighty, there you go. There's Alon's mock draft. I got it all written down. I got mine as well, and we'll compare and contrast when we're back on Sunday. And I want everybody to come out tomorrow for the KMBR 49ers draft show. Can't wait for that. Our guy Pat H is in the chat. I hope you see it out there, Pat H. And I'm assuming I'm going to owe you a Pepsi because I do think that now that Ty Simpson will go in the first round. And the Giants and Dodgers are still scoreless. Is Tyler Malley pitching right now? Pretty well. That's surprising.
Oh, and the Giants won yesterday 3-1. Is that right?
They did. Yeah. Thanks to Landon Roop, who's had a great start to the season, and the bullpen last night as well. Tony Vitello is getting things done. And he's feeling confident enough to go around the city now and go see Dave Chappelle. He's talking about in the pregame that he's kind of not wanting to show his face around town because he's the new guy, and he got the courage after a pretty successful road trip to go see Dave Chappelle at the Punchline. Now, I made the riff today. Alon, you see the Nutty Professor, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, it's Dave Chappelle's character where he's the guy in the nightclub?
Yeah.
At the comedy show. I picture I think the same thing where Tony Vitello's like, you know what? Screw what people think. I'm going to that comedy club. I'm sitting there and I'm going to have a good time watching Dave Chappelle. And then Dave Chappelle sees him and goes, well, look who showed up. Tony Vitello, huh? You think, Mr. College, you think you could show up and be a pro baseball manager? You got even league.
If that happened, that would be amazing. Dave Chappelle, I don't think knows who Tony Vitello is.
Probably not.
If that happened, oh my God, I would lose it, and I think everybody in the crowd would lose it too. Because, that'd
be absolutely hilarious. You remember that scene? Him and Nutty Professor is all time with the hair and everything. That's a huge ass.
That's a huge ass. Oh, dude, I haven't seen. Because they made 2 of those, didn't they? Wasn't there a Nutty Professor 2 as well?
Clumps.
Yeah. Oh.
And my argument, like some people thought, I remember talking about with you, like Michael B. Jordan deserved the Oscar for having, playing 2 characters. Give it to Eddie Murphy for playing the whole fucking table in the clubs.
Yeah, for everybody. And they're all fart. That was like peak Eddie Murphy playing everybody and some good fart jokes, but good comedy too. Not like Adam Sandler doing
Jack and Jill.
Yeah, that thing.
Well,
that movie.
We shouldn't forget about Al Pacino's great performance, though, where he wanted to be Dunkachino. Everybody wants my Dunkachino.
I'm obsessed with that. It's in my head rent free. What's my name? Dunkachino.
Dude, my little brother showed me that a couple years ago. I've actually never seen Jack and Jill, but that's just hilarious that Al Pacino's rapping to a song called Dunkachino. That's my name, Dunkachino.
It's got some dance moves too. Darren.
Oh no,
it's pretty good.
He definitely has some dance moves. And as Ernie once says in here, he's got a great line in Heat. She had a great ass.
Why is that the line that everybody quotes in Heat? Because it is a great line, but if you ask people about
so
Heat,
out of left field,
there's 2 things they will talk about: the shootout or great ass. That's it.
Because that just comes out of nowhere. It's Hank Azaria, who's a funny guy himself, but he's like Jesus.
True. Jesus.
And something that's not talked about enough with that. I saw an interview where Al Pacino's like, the whole backstory of that character was I was supposed to be a cokehead, and they didn't make it in the movie, so that explains my erratic behavior.
Yeah, just basically saying I was on coke when I was doing that movie.
Yeah. So Tyler Malley pitched well tonight. That's what everybody's saying in the chat tonight. All right, I'll take your word for it. When he's got a 7.24 ERA this season, and I guess Tacky's saying, hey, I remember Derek still owes me a beer from Niner opening day. Oh, because of you're right. Because I bet the Seahawks would beat the Niners.
They almost did until they turned the ball over.
Yeah, you're right about that, Tacky, you son of a bitch. All right, I'll buy you a beer tomorrow, and it looks like I'll buy Pat H a Pepsi as well. And I'll probably get roped into buying rock a new era beer too because he's upset with me. Anyway,
I want to know why it's Pepsi, not Coke, Pat. So next podcast, please tell us why it's Pepsi and not Coca-Cola. Is it because you grew up with Pepsi? Is it because you don't like Coca-Cola? Like, what's the deal here? I'm very interested in that because Pepsi is like, Coke.
Did Patrick Bailey just hit a home run? A 3-run home run of all people. God, that guy shows up sometimes when it's like you least expect it. Yeah, Patrick Bailey, a 3-run home run right now with Daniel Susak on the IL for a little bit of time. Wow. Of all people. And that's going to add to the whole narrative of Patrick Bailey and Daniel Susak. Anyway, that's for all the KNBR people discuss tomorrow on Murph and Marcus. Jax only has Pepsi. Is that true?
That's they're Pepsi products. I like Coke. So Pat scouted out. This is what he did. He scouted out the menu, Derek. He knew that they only had Pepsi, so you're gonna have to get him a Pepsi.
All righty. Well, I'll let everybody enjoy the rest of this Giants game. Let's see if the Giants can win another game, go back-to-back against the Dodgers, which they haven't done, I think, since 2023. So it's been a long, long time. And everybody enjoy the draft tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday. And we'll react to everything with the Raiders and 49ers in their draft, see what players were moved. And yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. To everybody in the chat, thanks to Pat H. Thanks to Tacky. Thanks to Ernie One. Thanks to Otis Bird. And I believe that is it. And I just wanted to bring up one more thing that I saw in the chat here that Tacky wrote. If I can find it in time, which I can't. So I'm just filibustering.
Dr. Pepper better than Pepsi? Pepsi
no,
way better than Coke?
He was calling me out for something. I just had a good retort for it. Hang on. Where see that's what you could do sometimes when you're no. What does that say? For every what does that say? For every what? For every pick you guys get wrong, you have to do a shot of hot sauce. It could be on the table. No, Tacky says here, what have you been good at, Derek? I don't know. Ask your mom, Tacky. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for tonight. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, you guys might think that it's time to move on from Steve Kerr as the head coach of the Warriors, but that's just your opinion, man.